Hello and welcome to the second episode of EnergInform-Me. I am Tatiana and today we are going to talk about the potential of thorium as an energy source, as well as the Russian perspective on the current oil price crisis. And finally, we're going to talk about Amazon's carbon neutrality strategy. So stay tuned and let's start now. During the confinement, as everyone else, I watched a series, and this one was a Norwegian one and was called Okkupert. The scenario is quite simple, it's a political fiction, and it starts by a decision of the Prime Minister to cut Norway's oil and gas production and to replace it by thorium. So this first speech of the Prime Minister is held in front of a huge factory of thorium reprocessing. So that's where I wondered, is this possible in real life? What are the perspectives of thorium for energy production? In nuclear reactors, thorium is often presented as an alternative to uranium, and some countries, such as India for example, use it in their nuclear cycle. In fact, this resource is present 4 times more on Earth than uranium, and it's mainly concentrated in North America and Eastern Asia. But the only problem is that thorium is not a fissile material, meaning that it cannot sustain a chain reaction if it's bombarded by neutrons. Therefore, it has to be associated with regular uranium. And this is the case, for example, in molten salt reactors. So here's how it works. After capturing a neutron during the fission process of uranium-235, thorium, which number is 232, becomes, after a certain time, uranium-233, which in its turn can produce fission and is put in another reactor. So in the end, thorium can produce a fissile product that can actually produce energy. It's already part of the 4th generation of nuclear reactors. So, after all, there is potential for the development of thorium, but there is still a long way to go until it becomes a widespread technology. In the beginning of March, OPEC members and Russia failed to reach an agreement in Vienna concerning the future oil prices. This comes as Russia refused to cut its domestic oil production, facing a decrease of demand with coronavirus. This move resulted in historically low prices for oil, reaching even $30 per barrel, and many analysts agree that this situation is quite negative for the US, which highly rely on shale oil production, and shale oil can be competitive as long as regular oil, conventional oil prices are kept high, which is not the case today. But you might wonder, how do the Russians see this situation? Well, most of the analysts agree, and it's more or less a consensus, that this decision was a mistake and that the negotiations will have to be continued. The main reason why Russia didn't want to cut its output is because it expected the coronavirus situation to improve and China to restore its oil demand, but things are evolving much slower than expected. Others, however, have claimed that the production cuts could have been beneficial to other oil-producing countries, such as, for example, the US or Canada, which are not members of the OPEC. Indeed, those countries could have used this situation to sell their oil at an artificially high price without doing any efforts to cut their output, as the OPEC members did. So obviously, Russia refused to cut its oil production to avoid this kind of free rider behavior. March 5th marked the World Day of Energy Efficiency, and a week later, Amazon decided to invest in renewable energy projects. The day of this announcement, the share value of Amazon was reaching its lowest level since 1 year, but afterwards it obviously immediately went up. So, beyond this greenwashing strategy, let's look at the figures. Amazon's carbon footprint now is equivalent to 44 million tons of CO2. Just to give you an idea, this is comparable to the emissions of Angola, for example. So now let's look at their promises. Amazon has decided to reach the 80% renewable energy target until 2024 versus 40% today. This means concretely that it will have to double its dependency on renewable energy in only 3 years. Even more ambitious is the fact that they want to reach 100% renewable energy in 2030. How are they going to do that? There are lots of projects. So these projects include making data centers more sustainable, investing massively in wind and solar, improving the efficiency of same-day shipping, and also using electric vehicles for shipping. So obviously we are going to follow what happens on that matter and how Amazon is going to reach these goals. For now, thank you very much for watching, that's all for today, and see you next week on EnergInform-Me. Bye!